Hello everybody, Timothy Bailey with Project Learn and our video for today. Today we're going to look at word function in 3 silly but grammatically correct sentences. Let's go ahead and get started. So we have a barn, the building where you might keep your animals or farm equipment, and we have a horse here who is running around the barn. Now we might have a rather simple sort of normal sentence. The horse, here we are, raced past the barn. Okay, so raced here means to run fast. So the horse raced past the barn. No problem here. We have the subject, the noun, the horse, and an article, and the verb. And then we have sort of this adverbial phrase, right? Now, let's change the sentence a little bit. Imagine that the horse fell. The horse raced past the barn, fell. What's happening here? We still have the entire sentence from A, but now we have this, the past tense, right, of fall. Well, in A, the subject is the horse. We talked about that. It is what is doing this verb. And the verb is raced. But we still have that in B. The only difference is it is now part of the subject, the verb. The entire subject is the horse raced past the barn. Because what we would say in a longer version is we would say the horse that was raced past the barn. This would be the whole sentence. We've reduced it here. Reduced means to shorten, to contract, or shrink something. And we do that often by getting rid of these two verbs, the auxiliary and the be verb. And we just say the horse raced past the barn, and now we have the verb fell. Again, we just often get rid of these two verbs here. The confusion is that we normally think of raced as the main verb. But in this sentence, where there are two verbs that look like the main verbs, one is actually part of a compound sort of subject, and one is the actual subject, the actual verb of that subject. In other words, it was this horse, the horse that was raced past the barn, or that raced past the barn, that was the horse that fell. Let's try another one. All the faith he had no effect on the outcome of his life. Whoa. Had, right? The auxiliary verb had, right, or have, can be very confusing at times. But let's look at this one. I colored them red and blue for two different reasons. The blue ones are actually auxiliary verbs. And you would guess that because the red ones are the main verbs. If you look at this sentence, we would have to identify the verb, right? What did he do? What is the verb, right, for the subject here? Well, it's this one, right? To have, or the past tense, had. And there are two, right? Two red ones. So if these are the main verbs, even though this is the same verb, we know coming before the main verb, it's going to be an auxiliary verb, right? Think of something like, he should have studied for the test. Again, the verb before have is going to be an auxiliary verb. This is also a little confusing because it's using the past perfect twice. Had, and had. And the past perfect helps us look at something that occurred once or more than once in the past, but was finished when another event occurred. And let's look at two parts of this sentence. The first part is faith. Okay, so we have the noun here. And the other one is a whole chunk of the sentence. the outcome of his life. And these are the two things that we are looking at, that we're trying to put together, right? That's related to the past perfect. Remember, something finished when another event happens. Well, let's look at faith. So here we're talking about, when we say the faith he had, we're talking about the faith whoever used to have in the past, right? A lot of faith, right? At one time in the past. He had that faith, but he doesn't know more. And there's a reason for that. Let's move on to the outcome of his life. Excuse me, the outcome of his life is related to the fact that the faith, right, didn't affect the result of his life, right? What would the result of your life be? Well, it would be when your life is over, right? When we can say, this is the result of your life because your life is now over. This person, is dead now. Maybe we're talking about a historical figure, right? Someone important in history, the history of a country or something. Okay? So the faith that person had when they were alive, right, or when they were younger, because we're also talking about the culmination, the ending of their life, right? This did not have an effect on this. Okay? So these are the two events. The faith they had when they were alive, when they were younger, had no effect, right? So again, still in the past, did not affect their life. Okay? Because why? Well, because they're not alive any longer. And there's another very important clue to telling how we know this person is not alive. If the person was still alive, we would use has here. Right? All the faith he had has had no effect on the outcome of his life. Right? Now here we might say all the faith he had in his youth, right, has had no effect on his life. Okay? Otherwise, it might also mean that the person lost faith, right? But the addition of has into this group, right, would tell us that the person is still alive. All right, let's try another sentence. So you know what this is? This is a ship, the thing, the noun, right, that is moving on the water, carrying all this stuff. The verb for what the ship is doing is also related to ship, shipping, right? Shipping is the activity of transporting goods and merchandise across water on a ship, right? On a ship. In fact, these containers here are often called shipping containers because we ship things in them, right? Now I have a very complex sentence for us. What is this? Here we go. Let's make it a sentence. This is not a sentence, so let's turn it into a sentence to answer this question. What is this? It's a ship shipping ship. Shipping, ships, period. Now we have a sentence. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versions of the same word, right? 6 forms of the word from the same word family. And how are they being used in this sentence? How do they go together? Right? This helps us understand the function of words in a sentence. Because again, normally we would say ship is a noun, right? But what are these other forms? What is happening? Well, when we're looking at a sentence, we need to look at the parts. So first, let's try to find the nouns, right? And you would probably not guess it is the ing word. So we have this, and we have this. But if we started this first part, we have an article here, which we will see in a second. And then these words coming after it. So that would probably tell us this is not a noun. Because we wouldn't have noun or article, noun, verb to noun like this, right? And we do, sort of, but the main noun is going to be this ship, right? Imagine we just said a big red ship, right? This is our noun. The other noun, down here. So ships. This one is this ship. These ships are these ships. Okay, that's how they go together. Now, I told you the article, so here's our article, right? This here is a ship. These are ships. So then we must have some adjectives here. We have an article, we have a noun. The only things that go in between are adjectives, right? Okay. A ship, shipping, ship. Okay. This is a ship, right? That ships, right? That transports other ships, right? So use that word, transport. This is a ship that transports other ships. Okay? A ship transporting ship, we could say. Now we have another adjective. Look down here. Again, we have the plural noun, ships. We're also missing a verb. So one of these must be a verb, and one of these must be an adjective. Well, if we're going to guess the one is an adjective is closest to the noun. And you would be right. This shipping is the adjective, right? These ships here are also ships, just smaller ones, that transport other ships. Okay, so let's look at it again. This large ship, right, is a ship that transports other ships. These other ships are also ships that transport even smaller ships. Okay, so now we have our two noun groups. We have a ship, right, that transports, right, a ship that transports ships, right, and there are the ships on it. So what is the verb? Well, the verb is this one, right? This ship is transporting these ships. Okay. Get rid of the adjectives here. What is this here? It is a ship transporting ships. Now the purpose of this ship, right, is to transport ships. The purpose of these ships is to transport ships. Does it make sense? This is a difficult sentence, but it allows us to really understand how these words go together, even when they're silly and they're all so closely related. Here are two links for some other silly and crazy sentences that, while they are strange, they are grammatically correct and understandable if we work with them enough. I hope this was fun and interesting. Thank you, and have a great day.